Most of you watching today likely fill your plates with broccoli, fresh salads, and mushrooms because you've been told for decades that these are the ultimate shields against disease. You are doing the hard work, yet as a doctor, I see a frustrating reality. Eating healthy isn't enough if those nutrients remain locked or deactivated. Think of your food as a high-security safe filled with life-saving treasure. If you don't have the specific key to open it, the treasure remains useless, and most people are unknowingly throwing that key in the trash every single day. I'm Dr. Eric Whitman, and in my clinical practice, I've seen far too many patients face health crises they truly thought they had prevented. The real danger is the silent, low-grade inflammation that builds over years, slowly eroding your independence and your ability to live life on your own terms. But you can take back control. Today I'll show you a simple, science-backed kitchen strategy to finally unlock those nutrients and starve the threats from within. Are you ready? Comment "ready" or "I'm in" below. Now, I want to talk to you about something that happens every day in kitchens across America, from Florida to Washington State. It is a quiet tragedy of lost potential. As a physician, I often see patients who are incredibly disciplined. They come into my office with journals of what they eat, proud that they have swapped the steak and potatoes for a giant bowl of steamed broccoli. They are doing exactly what they were told to do in the 1990s and 2000s. But here is the uncomfortable truth. If you are preparing that broccoli the way most people do, boiling it until it's soft, or worse, microwaving it until it's limp and dull, you aren't actually eating a superfood. You are eating expensive fiber with the medicinal soul ripped out of it. In the medical community, we call this the deactivation mistake. It's not your fault. You were taught to cook for flavor and texture, not for molecular activation. But when we are talking about defending your body against a disease as strategic as cancer, we have to think like chemists, not just cooks. Let's look at the broccoli. Broccoli belongs to the cruciferous family, a group of vegetables that includes cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and kale. These plants are essentially biological warehouses for a compound called glucosinolate. Now, on its own, glucosinolate is inert. It's like the raw iron ore you find in a mine. It's valuable, but you can't build a skyscraper with it. To turn that iron into steel, or in this case, to turn glucosinolate into the cancer-fighting miracle molecule called sulforaphane, you need a very specific biological worker. That worker is an enzyme called myrosinase. Here is where the biology gets fascinating. In a living head of broccoli, the glucosinolate and the myrosinase are kept in separate rooms within the plant's cells. They are like the two components of a high-powered epoxy resin. They are harmless while separate, but the moment they mix, a powerful chemical reaction occurs. In nature, this is the plant's defense system. When an insect bites the broccoli, the cell walls break. The enzyme meets the compound, and bang! Sulforaphane is created to ward off the predator. When we eat broccoli, we want that sulforaphane. It is the hero molecule that enters our bloodstream, finds our cells, and flips on the switches that protect our DNA. But here is the medical mistake. Myrosinase is an incredibly delicate enzyme. It is highly sensitive to heat. When you take that broccoli and drop it into a pot of boiling water or blast it in the microwave, you are effectively killing the worker before he can do his job. You end up with plenty of glucosinolates, but zero myrosinase. It's like having a pile of gunpowder and no detonator. You can eat the broccoli, but that life-saving explosion of sulforaphane never happens in your gut. Your body absorbs the raw material, but without the enzyme to activate it, most of it simply passes through your system. This isn't just about broccoli. This is a universal rule of plant biology that we see in other staples of the American diet, most notably garlic. Many of my patients take garlic supplements or add a clove to their pasta sauce for heart health and immune support. Garlic contains a compound called alliin and an enzyme called allinase. Just like the broccoli, they are kept in separate compartments. When you crush or mince garlic, the allinase converts alliin into allicin, the compound responsible for garlic's potent antibacterial and anti-inflammatory effects. However, if you peel a clove of garlic and drop it whole into a hot pan, or if you roast it immediately after peeling, The heat destroys the allanase before the allicin has a chance to form. You get the flavor, but you lose the medicine. You are essentially paying for a Ferrari but only getting the frame and the wheels. The engine was never started. As we age, especially past the age of 60, our bodies become less efficient at processing nutrients. We can no longer afford to waste 80% or 90% of the medicinal value of our food. Every bite must count. When you understand that your kitchen is actually a laboratory, you stop being a victim of healthy eating myths and start becoming a strategist. You realize that the standard American way of cooking is often the very thing standing between you and the protection your body desperately needs. Once we understand how to unlock the nutrients in our food, we have to ask, what is the environment these nutrients are entering? As a doctor, I can give you the best medicine in the world, but if I'm dropping that medicine into a toxic swamp, it's going to have a hard time working. In your body, that toxic swamp is something we call chronic low-grade inflammation. I want you to imagine your body is a beautiful, well-kept home, the home you've lived in for decades. Now imagine a fire starts in the kitchen. That is acute inflammation. The smoke alarm blares. The firefighters, your immune system, arrive with sirens screaming. They douse the flames with water, and once the fire is out, they leave. The damage is repaired, and the house returns to normal. This is a healthy, necessary process. Without acute inflammation, you wouldn't survive a common cold or a scraped knee. But now, imagine a different scenario. Imagine there is no raging fire, but instead, there are tiny, smoldering embers hidden deep inside the walls of every single room. There is no loud alarm, just a faint, constant beep that you eventually learn to ignore. These embers never turn into a full-scale fire, but they are constantly releasing heat and toxic smoke. Over months and years, the wood in the walls starts to char. The electrical wiring becomes brittle. The very foundation of the house begins to weaken. This is chronic inflammation. For many Americans over 60, this is the default state of their bodies. You might feel it as a lingering stiffness in your joints in the morning, or a strange brain fog that you attribute to getting older. But beneath the surface, your immune system is exhausted. Your firefighters are permanently on duty, wandering the halls of your body looking for a fire they can't quite find. Because they are always active, they become clumsy. They start to make mistakes. They begin to damage healthy tissue, and eventually, they miss the real threats, like the birth of a cancer cell. This state of chronic inflammation is the perfect breeding ground, the fertilizer for cancer. Cancer cells are opportunistic. They don't just happen. They thrive in an environment of chaos. Inflammation helps cancer cells break through tissues, invade new areas, and even signal the body to build new blood vessels to feed them. So, why is your house smoldering? For most of us, it's what I call dietary gasoline. We are trying to eat healthy on the one hand, but on the other, we are unknowingly pouring gasoline on those internal embers every day. The first type of gasoline is refined sugar and high-fructose corn syrup. When you consume sugar, your insulin levels spike. In a 60-year-old body, that insulin spike doesn't just clear the sugar. It sends a signal to your fat cells and your liver to release pro-inflammatory chemicals. It's like a direct message to your immune system to stay on high alert. The second type is processed vegetable oils, things like soybean oil, corn oil, and cottonseed oil that are hidden in almost everything in the middle aisles of the grocery store. These are incredibly high in omega-6 fatty acids. While we need some omega-6, the modern American diet is drowned in it, creating a massive imbalance that keeps the smoldering embers burning 24/7. Finally, we have ultra-processed meats. I know many of us grew up with deli meats and sausages as staples, but the nitrates and preservatives in these products are recognized by your body as foreign invaders. Every time you eat them, your immune system reacts as if you've been poisoned, triggering a wave of inflammation that can last for hours. If you are eating activated broccoli but following it up with a sugary dessert or a sandwich made with processed oils and meats, you are fighting a losing battle. You are trying to put out a fire with a squirt gun while someone else is standing behind you with a hose full of fuel. To truly protect yourself, we have to clear the swamp. We have to stop the gasoline and start using our food to cool the environment down. One of the reasons people feel so much fear around the word cancer is that it feels like a mysterious, invisible monster that strikes without warning. But as a doctor, I want to pull back the curtain. Cancer is not a ghost. It is a biological process with a very specific playbook. When you understand that playbook, you stop being a victim and you start being a strategist. You can look at your plate and say, "Today, I am sabotaging phase 1, or this meal is designed to block phase 3. We divide the development of cancer into 3 distinct phases: initiation, promotion, and progression. Let's walk through them together, so you know exactly where your food medicine is working. Phase 1, initiation, the spark. Every single day, your body is performing a miracle. You have trillions of cells, and they are constantly dividing to replace old ones. Every time a cell divides, it has to copy its entire DNA, the instruction manual for how to be a human. Now, imagine trying to copy a 1,000-page book by hand every single day. Eventually, you're going to make a typo. In your body, those typos are mutations. Most of the time, they are harmless. But sometimes, a typo happens in a critical chapter, the one that tells the cell when to stop growing. This spark can be caused by many things: environmental toxins, radiation from the sun, or even the natural byproducts of breathing oxygen, which we call free radicals. At age 60 plus, your proofreading system, the enzymes that fix these DNA typos, isn't as fast as it used to be. This is where your antioxidants come in. I want you to think of antioxidants as bodyguards for your DNA. When a free radical, a molecular vandal, tries to attack your DNA and cause a typo, the antioxidant steps in the way and takes the hit instead. When we talk about vibrant colors on your plate, the deep blues of blueberries, the rich greens of kale, the bright oranges of bell peppers, we are talking about different types of bodyguards. Each color represents a different chemical shield. By eating a wide variety of these, you are essentially hiring a diverse security team to protect your genetic code from that initial spark. Phase 2, promotion, fanning the flames. This is a phase that most people don't realize exists. Just because a cell has a typo in its DNA doesn't mean you have cancer. That initiated cell might sit quietly in your body for 10, 20, or 30 years doing absolutely nothing. For that cell to become a problem, it needs to be promoted. It needs someone to fan the flames and tell it to start dividing and making clones of itself. What are the promoters? As we discussed, the biggest ones are chronic inflammation and excess insulin. If you are constantly pouring gasoline into your system, you are giving that one mutated cell exactly what it needs to grow. You are giving it the all-clear signal to start building a colony. This is where your strategy becomes about suppression. We want to find ways to tell those mutated cells to stop. This brings us back to our hero, sulforaphane. One of sulforaphane's most incredible superpowers is a process called apoptosis. In the medical world, apoptosis is programmed cell death. Every healthy cell has a self-destruct button. If a cell realizes it is damaged or mutated, it is supposed to press that button for the good of the body. Cancer cells, however, have figured out how to jam that button. They refuse to die. Sulforaphane acts like a specialized technician. It goes into the cell, fixes the mechanism, and forces the cancerous cell to press its own self-destruct button. It's a way of cleaning house before the clones can take over. Phase 3, progression, the conquest. If a tumor manages to grow despite our best efforts, it reaches the final and most dangerous phase, progression. At this point, the tumor is no longer just a small cluster of cells. It wants to become an empire. To do that, it needs 2 things. It needs to eat, and it needs to travel. This leads us to a process called angiogenesis. A tumor is a gluttonous thing. Once it reaches the size of a pinhead, it can no longer get enough nutrients just by soaking them up from its surroundings. It needs its own dedicated plumbing. So the tumor releases powerful chemical distress signals. that trick your body into growing brand new blood vessels directly to the tumor. I want you to imagine a rebel city in the middle of a desert. To survive and grow, they need the government to build a massive highway system directly to their gates so they can bring in food and supplies. That highway system is angiogenesis. Without those roads, the tumor stays small and harmless. With those roads, it grows rapidly and, eventually, uses those same highways to send scout cells out to other parts of the body. This is what we call metastasis. This is the stage where we must become saboteurs. We want to cut the supply lines. We want to jam the signals so the highway never gets built. Nature has provided us with some of the most potent angiogenesis inhibitors known to science. When you drink green tea, when you eat berries, or, as we are about to discuss in detail, when you eat mushrooms, you are releasing molecules into your bloodstream that act like signal jammers. They find those chemical messages from the tumor and they neutralize them. They tell your body, don't build that road. There's no reason to go there. When you block angiogenesis, the tumor literally starves to death. It sits there, isolated, unable to grow, and unable to travel. The strategic mindset. As we move forward in this video, I want you to keep this map of the battle in your mind. You aren't just eating healthy because your doctor told you to. You are hiring bodyguards to prevent the spark, phase 1. You are fixing the self-destruct buttons to stop the flames from spreading, phase 2. And you are sabotaging the enemy's highway system to starve the conquest, phase 3. When you look at your kitchen through this lens, you realize that you have a tremendous amount of power. The medical system is great at treating phase 3 once it has already caused a crisis, but you are the only one who can manage phases 1 and 2 every single day at your kitchen table. In the next part of this video, I'm going to introduce you to the commander-in-chief of this nutritional army, the one food that, when prepared correctly, has the ability to attack all 3 phases at once. It is a food that has been misunderstood for a long time, but once you learn the key to unlock it, it will change the way you think about your pharmacy and your plate forever. Stay with me, because we are about to unlock the safe. Now we come to the moment of truth. If you were to walk into my kitchen today and ask me which single food category has the most untapped potential to change the trajectory of your health after age 60, I wouldn't point to the kale or the blueberries, as great as they are. I would point to the humble mushroom sitting in the corner of your refrigerator. In my practice, I find that mushrooms are often the most misunderstood superfood in the American diet. For decades, we've treated them as a simple topping for steak or a filler in a salad. But mushrooms are a kingdom entirely their own. They are neither plants nor animals. They possess a unique biological architecture that holds what I call the master key to your immune defense. Let's talk about the first secret weapon inside that mushroom, ergotionine. Now, that's a mouthful, but I want you to remember this name. Some of my colleagues in the research world have begun calling ergotionine the longevity vitamin. Why? Because it is a cellular bodyguard that never gets tired. Most antioxidants, like vitamin C, go into a battle with a free radical, neutralize it, and then they are spent. They are used up. But ergotionine is different. It has a unique transporter system in our bodies that allows it to be pulled directly into our most vulnerable areas, our DNA and our mitochondria, the power plants of our cells. Once inside, ergotionine doesn't just work once, it can be recycled. It stays on guard duty for days, protecting your cells from the sparks of phase 1 cancer initiation we discussed earlier. As we age, our natural levels of ergotionine drop, making us more vulnerable to oxidative stress. By eating mushrooms, you are essentially replenishing your cellular armor. But here is the catch, and this is where the deactivation mistake becomes most critical. You cannot access this medicine if you eat your mushrooms raw. I see this all the time at salad bars across the country. People pile raw white button mushrooms onto their plates, thinking they are being healthy. But the cell walls of a mushroom are made of chitin. If that word sounds familiar, it's because chitin is the same tough, fibrous material that makes up the external skeletons of lobsters and beetles. Human beings do not have the enzymes to digest raw chitin. If you eat a raw mushroom, Those precious antioxidants and medicinal compounds remain locked inside a lobster shell of fiber. Your body can't get to them. They simply pass through your digestive tract and end up in the toilet. Furthermore, raw mushrooms contain small amounts of toxins like agarotine, which are neutralized by heat. The activation act for mushrooms is heat. When you cook a mushroom, whether you sauté it, roast it, or put it in a slow cooker, the heat breaks down those chitin walls. It's like using a blowtorch to open a safe. Only then are the beta-glucans released. Beta-glucans are the generals of the mushroom army. Once released and absorbed, they perform what we call immune modulation. I want to be very clear here. Most people think they want to boost their immune system. But as someone over 60, you don't necessarily want a boosted immune system. That can lead to the chronic inflammation we talked about. You want an intelligent immune system. Beta-glucans train your natural killer, NK cells. Think of NK cells as the special forces of your body. Their only job is to patrol your tissues and identify cells that have become cancerous or virally infected. Beta-glucans give these NK cells better glasses and sharper weapons. They help your immune system distinguish between a healthy cell and a mutated one with surgical precision. But the mushroom strategy doesn't stop there. It is a triple threat. First, it protects your DNA with ergotionine. Second, it trains your NK cells with beta-glucans. And third, it is one of the most powerful anti-angiogenic foods on the planet. Remember the highway system the tumor tries to build? Compounds in cooked mushrooms, specifically white button, cremini, and shiitake, interfere with the chemical signals the tumor sends out. It's like cutting the phone lines. The tumor calls for blood vessels to be built, but the body never receives the message. If you want proof, look at the landmark study from Penn State University. They analyzed data from nearly 20,000 people and found a staggering correlation. People who ate just 18 grams of mushrooms a day had a 45% lower risk of cancer than those who did not. Now, how much is 18 grams? It's not a giant bowl. It's roughly 2 medium-sized mushrooms. That is a small change with a big difference. For the price of 2 mushrooms a day, you are essentially hiring a full-time security detail for your internal environment. By now, you're probably thinking, okay, Dr. Eric, I'm convinced. But how do I actually do this without spending all day in the kitchen? As a doctor, I know that if a plan isn't easy, it won't happen. So I have 2 kitchen hacks that I use in my own home, and I want you to start using them tomorrow. Hack number 1, the mushroom rule. This one is simple. Never eat them raw. Whether it gets the cheap white button mushrooms from the grocery store or the fancy shiitakes from the farmer's market, they must meet the heat. My favorite method? Sauté them in a pan with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and some garlic. Why? Because as we'll see in a moment, those ingredients have their own superpowers. By cooking them, you are unlocking the chitin, releasing the beta-glucans, and making the ergotionine available. You can also throw them into your Sunday roast or add them to a vegetable soup. The key is consistent, moderate heat. Hack number 2, the chop and wait rule, the 40-minute window. This is the pro tip that almost no one, not even many nutritionists, will tell you. It has to do with that delicate enzyme, myrosinase, that we talked about in the broccoli section. Remember, heat kills the enzyme. But if the enzyme has already done its job and created the sulforaphane, that sulforaphane is much more resistant to heat. So, here is the trick. Chop your cruciferous vegetables and then walk away. When you chop your broccoli, cauliflower, or kale, you are damaging the plant. This causes the glucosinolates and the myrosinase to mix. The chemical reaction starts immediately. If you wait 40 minutes before putting that broccoli in the steamer or the pan, the myrosinase has enough time to convert almost all the raw material into life-saving sulforaphane. Once that 40 minutes is up, the medicine has been manufactured. You can then cook the broccoli, and even though the heat will kill the enzyme, it doesn't matter. The work is already done. You've locked in the cancer-fighting power. Now, I know 40 minutes sounds like a long time when you're trying to get dinner on the table. But think of it this way. Make chopping your vegetables the very first thing you do when you walk into the kitchen. Chop the broccoli, chop the cauliflower, then go open your mail, set the table, or prep the rest of the meal. By the time you're ready to cook, your medicine is fully activated. The garlic parallel. The same logic applies to your garlic. Don't mince it and drop it straight into a hot pan. Mince it and let it sit on the cutting board for just 10 minutes. That 10-minute rest allows the allanase enzyme to create the allicin. Once that 10 minutes is up, that garlic is heat shielded and you can saute it without losing its medicinal heart health benefits. These two hacks, cooking your mushrooms and chop and wait for your greens, take zero extra money and very little extra effort, but they transform your meal from filling your stomach to arming your body. Now that you have the techniques, let's build your strategic arsenal. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by a diet. I want you to think of these 16 foods as different units in your army. You don't need all of them every day, but you want to rotate them so that your defense is always in depth. I've grouped these into 4 functional categories so you can easily remember why you are eating them. Category 1, the gut health and prebiotic unit. 1. Garlic and 2. Onions. These are more than just flavor. They are prebiotics. They feed the good bacteria in your gut. Why does that matter for cancer? Because those bacteria take that fiber and produce butyrate. Butyrate is a short-chain fatty acid that travels to your colon and literally tells precancerous cells to behave or undergo apoptosis. A healthy gut is the foundation of a cancer-resistant body. Category 2. The apoptosis inducers, the self-destruct crew. 3. Broccoli. 4. Cauliflower. And 5. Cabbage, your cruciferous warriors. Using the chop and wait rule, these are your primary sources of sulforaphane. They focus on phase 2, stopping the promotion of mutated cells by forcing them to self-destruct. Category 3. The angiogenesis inhibitors, the supply line saboteurs. 6. Green tea contains a molecule called EGCG. In the lab, EGCG is one of the most potent inhibitors of new blood vessel growth. 1 or 2 cups a day is like putting a "do not enter" sign on your body's highway system. 7. Berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. These are loaded with anthocyanins. These compounds don't just protect your eyes and brain, they are signal jammers that stop tumors from calling for reinforcements. 8. Dark chocolate, at least 70% cocoa. Yes, you have my permission. High-quality cocoa is rich in polyphenols that inhibit angiogenesis. It's a medicine that tastes like a treat. Category 4. The anti-inflammatory heavyweights, the fire extinguishers. 9. Turmeric. The active ingredient, curcumin, is perhaps the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory on earth. Clinical tip. Always add a pinch of black pepper. The piperine in pepper increases turmeric absorption by 2,000%. Without the pepper, most of the turmeric stays in your gut. 10. Fatty fish, wild salmon, sardines. These provide omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. These are the direct off switches for chronic inflammation. They calm the smoldering embers in your walls. 11. Extra virgin olive oil, EVOO. Look for oil that has a peppery kick at the back of your throat. That kick is oleocanthal, a compound that works similarly to ibuprofen, but in a natural food-based way to reduce systemic inflammation. Category 5. The defense force, the multitaskers. 12. Tomatoes. When you cook tomatoes, like in a sauce, you release lycopene. This is a powerful shield for the prostate and the heart. 13. Whole grains, oats, quinoa. High fiber keeps your toxic waste moving out of your body quickly, reducing the time carcinogens spend in contact with your system. 14. Legumes, lentils, beans. They provide resistant starch, which is a slow-burning fuel that prevents the insulin spikes that fan the flames of cancer promotion. 15. Seeds, flax and chia. Flax seeds contain lignans, which are particularly important for my female patients as they help balance estrogen levels and protect against hormone-driven threats. 16. Pomegranate, rich in L-argitannins, which are being studied for their ability to stop the growth of existing tumors. The strategy, the plate as your pharmacy. As you look at this list, I want you to realize something. This is not about perfection. If you're 65, 70, or 75, you've earned the right to enjoy your life. My goal isn't to take away your joy, it's to add a layer of strategic protection to everything you do. Think of it as rotation. Maybe on Monday, you have oatmeal with blueberries, category 3 and 5. On Tuesday, you have a salmon fillet with chop and weight broccoli, category 2 and 4. On Wednesday, you make a big stir-fry with heat-activated mushrooms and garlic, category 1 and commander-in-chief. Every time you make one of these choices, you are moving the needle. You are changing the internal chemistry of your body. You are making it a hostile environment for disease and a resilient home for your health. In my years of clinical practice, I have seen patients who made these small, intentional changes, chopping their broccoli early, cooking their mushrooms, adding a little turmeric to their eggs, and the results aren't just in the blood work. The results are in their independence. They are the ones who are still traveling at 80. They are the ones who are still playing with their grandkids on the floor without pain. They are the ones who aren't living in fear of the next bad diagnosis because they know they have taken back the key to the safe. You have the knowledge now. You have the map of the enemy. You have the commander-in-chief. And you have the kitchen hacks. The power to protect your future is sitting right there on your cutting board. Thank you for spending this time with me. Let's take back control of your health, one meal at a time. We've covered a lot today, but if you remember only one thing, let it be this. The greatest danger to your longevity isn't a sudden crisis, but the silent, daily waste of your body's potential. Perhaps you've stood at your kitchen counter for years, preparing what you believed were the healthiest meals, only to realize that a tiny missing step left your defenses vulnerable. This isn't because you were careless. It's simply because no one explained the biological key clearly until now. You don't need a miracle diet. You just need to start making these small strategic shifts to take back the independence you've worked so hard for. If this realization resonates with you, just comment "activated" or "new perspective" below. Protecting your future means staying informed, so I invite you to join our community, not for entertainment, but as a preventative measure so you never miss these critical early warnings. Our next conversation focuses on something even closer to your daily routine. 3 common healthy breakfasts that are likely fueling inflammation before your day even begins. I say this because I've seen too many patients in my clinic who only wish they had known these details years sooner. Remember, your plate is your pharmacy. I'm Dr. Eric Whitman, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm Dr. Eric Whitman.